The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. I welcome you to the show today. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism and how you and I can be more effective, more efficient working with a child on the autism spectrum. But also we've added a little bit to our show because we're hoping that if you are a young adult or a teenager with autism that has an autism spectrum diagnosis, that we can help you to be able to understand things that you can do for yourself, because what we're trying to do is have all of us, literally all of us, reach our highest potential. And excuse me, I have a frog in my throat already. Just started. So we're going to talk about a wide variety of things. I always like to preface and say we do talk about ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, a lot on this show because we know it's the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. So we do talk about that a lot, and it's also a huge area. It is effective in creating progress for all of our kids on the spectrum. Literally all of them can see progress using ABA, no matter where they fall on that big, beautiful spectrum. But it is something that is very child-specific in terms of how we deliver these principles and these tools. So we always like to go over individual tools, and I always think of it as stock in the tool belt. So we have more tools to use for our very individual child. But there are a whole host of other things that we talk about on this show. That we talk about the journey through autism, about getting our kids to reach their fullest potential, which means we have to talk about the funding, right? And we have to talk about the emotional place that we go to, and a whole host of other things, what we put on the table, how we're sleeping, how we're dealing with the stress. So I want you to know it's no holds barred. We talk about the full experience here. And I am not an expert in autism, not an expert in ABA, not an expert in a whole lot of things, but what I am is a mom of a child who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He's 9 now and doing really well. And I'm also a former teacher. I forget to mention that from time to time. Somebody who spent time in the classroom, both as a college professor and as a teacher grades 7 through 12, actually. This is a really important topic to me, autism, because it affects everybody in my family. It affects our day-to-day lives. And while I don't understand everything that you're going through, couldn't possibly, because your child is unique and your circumstances are different, I want you to know that I care. And that is, it's like the beginning and the end, and everything else in between is chump change, right? Because I care about what you're going through. And I want you to know I'm not the only person who cares about what you're going through. There are a whole lot of people. I say this over and over again. I remember what it was like for me in the early days of autism, that I felt terribly alone. Like nobody got it, nobody understood, nobody cared, and nobody could possibly know what I was going through. And I've learned over the years, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, is a whole lot of people care. Yeah, we need more people to care. That's indisputable. And we're going to talk about, because today is October Surprise Day, and so we're going to talk about how we get more people to care today. But I want you to know that I care, and that there's a whole lot of people that I know and I'm affiliated with who also care about what you're doing, and they want to help you. And they want to help your child and your teenager and your adult. And it isn't a question of money. They want to help you to find the way to sort this out. So please participate in the show is really what I'm saying, because I want to be your conduit to those people. And I can guess what you need. And I absolutely on a daily basis try to guess what you might need. But it's so much better when you tell me what you need. And there are lots of different ways in which you can do that. If you're watching us right now on autism-live.com, we have the question feature open and reactive. So if you're there, you see a box and it says Shannon is answering right now, that's your space to type. You tell me what you want me to answer right now, or what you want me to find, who you want me to find, and I will find somebody. Sometimes it takes me a while, but I will find somebody to get you at least information moving in a direction. I would love to say that I have all the answers, but or know who to contact for the answers. Man, wouldn't that be great? But sometimes we just have more questions to ask, but moving in a direction, really super duper important. If you are watching and it says rebroadcast on Autism Live, there are lots of ways to get in touch with us. And by the way, these ways work in all the ways that you can watch the show. So you can email us. We get your emails. We will answer your question on the next available live show. We will also send you a typewritten response. And sometimes we hook you up with somebody who can answer the question and they'll respond to you. By the way, that's all free. This is not a thing, nobody's looking to get your credit card number. This is information is what this is all about. So you can do that through email. You can also phone us. We have a phone line that can be patched right here into the studio. If we're not here, you can leave a message. We'll get back to you as soon as we're back in the studio, and we're thrilled to have an opportunity to talk to you. You can Skype with us. We're going to be Skyping in just a little while with two moms that are autism mom bloggers who are hilarious. I can't wait to talk to these two ladies, and I know you guys are going to really enjoy them. But you can Skype in with us as well. If you've got camera capability on your computer, we'll put your picture up. If you don't have camera capability, we'll have sound only. It's like being patched in on a phone call. And by the way, we know you're watching in 103 different countries. And so wherever you are in the world, if you've got internet connection, then you can Skype in with us, and it's a lovely cost-free way of doing this. So don't hesitate to chat with us. There are other ways you can get in touch with us, though. Right now, you can get in touch with us on Facebook, and I've got the Facebook page open. We've got the question of the day up. You can like us while you're there. You will also notice that we have a post about the October surprise, the 1 in 88, something that you can do today. We're going to be talking more about that in just a minute. But while you're on our Facebook page, we appreciate your likes, and take a look, tootle around, see some of the other things that there are to be seen on the Facebook page. And you can also tweet with us. I also have the Twitter page open right now, which is not to say that I necessarily get it completely. Be patient with me. I'm working on the Twitter thing. But tweet with us, answer the question of the day, and please, if you don't already have a Twitter account, we had Shelley Hendricks from Autism Votes with us yesterday, and she was talking about the October surprise, and she said, and this was very interesting to me, that as a community, we're not as active on Twitter as we are on Facebook. And I thought, oh, that's very interesting. Maybe that's why I'm not as big on Twitter, and I'm coming a little bit late to it. I think it's a little bit more user intensive, and I haven't had the time to really immerse myself in the Twitter thing. And maybe it's just a symptom of where we all are. But she was pointing out that Twitter is something that is heavily watched, and that maybe we need to get a little bit more active on Twitter so that we have autism trending more often, to let people who are in decision-making positions see that we mean business. I mentioned that we're having these two blogger moms on. They are the ones, you've heard me reference it before on the show. They wrote the blog, 5 Reasons Not to Piss Off an Autism Mom. Well, we're going to be talking to them in just a little while. But we need to let more people know that they shouldn't mess around with us, right? That we mean business. And if we have to get on Twitter to do that, so be it. So if you don't have a Twitter account, I'm going to ask you to get a Twitter account today, because I need you to tweet today. And I'll tell you what I need you to tweet in just a little while. But I also want to point out that you can be watching us in lots of different ways. You can be watching us on blip.tv. You can pause, rewind, fast forward, search a topic, do keywords, search for individual experts. If you know that you just love it when Dr. Amy Kenzer is on the show, you saw her talk about toilet training and you want to see when else she was on the show, you can search that. And as well as we've probably had 200 guests on the show at this point. So you can search their names and you can search topics to get the information that you need in a quick, easy, completely free format. By the way, you can also do that on our YouTube page. We appreciate it when you share. If you see something that you like on YouTube, share it. Pass it on. Put it on your Facebook or email it to somebody that you know needs the information. We spend our time here with you. We do not spend enough time. I don't spend enough time letting people know about the show. So if you like what you see here, do us a favor and pass it on to one person or two people or whatever is possible for you. And also want to remind you that we're a free download on iTunes. Complete entire shows, picture and sound, free on iTunes. So if you miss an episode, you can find a way to find us, and we have more ways coming up for you to be able to watch the show in a quick, easy, completely free format. I'm really excited about that. Want to remind you that starting on November 7th, Wednesday, November 7th, at the start of the show, new segment, Ask Dr. Doreen. We're going to have Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet with us every Wednesday answering your questions live. How awesome is that? A wonderful, wonderful opportunity that I hope you guys will all take advantage of. Okay, I see that we've already got a question from somebody, and I'm loving that. We're going to do the jargon of the day, and then we will get to your questions. So stick with me through that. So we like to start every morning, though, with, I call it our morning warm-up, jargon of the day. Be really quick about it today because we got a lot to cover today. But our term today, and we talked about this just a little bit the other day, but our term today is EO. You're going to hear people talk about that in conjunction with your child. Well, you know, this EO, or we want to have this EO, what it stands for is establishing operation. Now, we always give you an actual definition, and then we give you a working definition, because sometimes the actual definition is so dense with jargon that you would need a canoe and 72 paddles to get through it, right? Let's take a look at this one. Establishing operation, a motivating operation that establishes, increases the effectiveness of some stimulus, object, or event as a reinforcer, thus increasing the current frequency of all behavior that has been reinforced by that stimulus, object, or event in the past. And this is why autism parents cry. People ask me, I never used to cry before my child was diagnosed with autism, and people will say to me, boy, you cry a lot. Yes, I do. This is why. Because I want to understand what's happening with my child, and and somebody says, oh, well, you know, we have this establishing operation happening, and I go, oh, I don't know what that is. I'll look it up. Ding. How's anybody supposed to understand this? Okay, so here's our working definition. Is this? Yeah, this is the working one. Some internal or external variable that makes particular reinforcers even more reinforcing, thus increasing the likelihood that you will engage in certain behaviors associated with accessing those reinforcers. Now, some of these working definitions I don't get to write. I'm just going to be honest with you, because they have to be enough appropriate, and this is one I didn't write. So let's pare it down a little bit more. Establishing operation is what you have on board in a moment to make sure that you're going to be, hopefully, ensure that you're going to be successful. So the other day when we were talking about when you want to get you want to teach choices and you want to get your child to choose between two things, and what the target is that you want your child really loves apples, so you want them to choose an apple over something else. Well, the establishing operation that you put on board is you think through and say, okay, how could I set my child up for success? Well, in all likelihood, if my child has already had an apple today, it's not going to be as reinforcing to pick the apple. I might not have set myself up for success. However, if I create a state in which my child hasn't had an apple for a while, and we know that the child loves apples, then in all likelihood, my child's going to choose an apple. So the establishing operation is that you do something. You set up a state in which your reinforcer is more likely to be reinforcing. So for instance, if your child loves Buzz Lightyear, I don't know why that's been my example all week long. Your child loves Buzz Lightyear and you want that to be the reinforcer, and you're asking your child to say buh, right? And it's really hard for your child. And you've held up Buzz Lightyear to say, if you say buh, then you're going to get to play with Buzz Lightyear, right? I mean, that's what you've set up with your child. And if the child's been playing with Buzz Lightyear all day long, they may choose to not say the buh because it's that difficult. However, we're just upping the ante a little bit. If Buzz Lightyear, you're not teasing them with Buzz Lightyear. If Buzz Lightyear has just been away and they haven't seen Buzz Lightyear for a couple of hours, and you say, here's Buzz, and right after we're done, you're going to get to play with Buzz. Okay, say buh. The child is more likely to overcome what's difficult for them because Buzz Lightyear is especially cool right now because they haven't had any time with Buzz Lightyear. So making sure that Buzz Lightyear hasn't been readily available for a couple of hours is an establishing operation. You've made it so that the reinforcer is, I call it supercharging it. Buzz Lightyear is cool all the time, but especially if you haven't been able to play with Buzz Lightyear for a while, it's like you miss him. And so he's supercharged. That's an establishing operation. If you think about it, we do establishing operations all the time by accident that set our kids up not for success. Like, if you're sitting there and you're trying to do something with your child and it's 2 hours past when you were supposed to have lunch, how likely is it that you're going to be successful? So it's less likely that you're going to be successful because your child is tired and hungry. So we always want to be using establishing operations to increase the value of our reinforcer, whatever it is, make it supercharged. So we're setting up the circumstances to help us. Hope that makes sense. If you don't get it immediately, don't worry because we go over it. And at some point, it's going to click. You're going to be somewhere with your child and you're going to go, oh, that's what they were talking about. It will make sense. Okay, we always have a question of the day for you. Our question today is, what challenging behavior does your child engage in that you wish you could work on? So here it is. We've been talking all week long about, how do you feel when your child's engaging in a challenging behavior? What kinds of things stop the challenging behavior? All these different questions that we've been asking you. Now I want to know, what's your wish list? 1 or 2 or 3, as many as 5 challenging behaviors that you were thinking and going, okay, here's what I wish I could change. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this, because this is what I'm going to ask the experts to come in and talk about for the next month. Truly. That's what's happening here. I want to know from you because they're always saying, what do you want me to come in and talk about? So if it's that your child has taken their poop and smeared it on the bathroom wall, that's what I'm going to bring in an expert in to talk about. So what are the challenging behaviors? This is the wish list. Bring it. I want to hear it. Okay. We also always have a topic of the week, and all week long, as I just said, it has been challenging behavior. Because when we can get in, around, over the challenging behavior, we get to the teaching and the learning and the good stuff and the joy and the progress. The progress is ours to have. It absolutely is. I promise you, with all of your children, I know some of you are sitting there singing, not my child, because my child's 15 and I missed the boat. That's not true. That is not true, and I'm not gonna let you say that to yourself. That's not true. You're a 15-year-old, and you might think to yourself, yes, but my child fill in the blank. My child has a double diag. Doesn't matter. Improvement is possible. I'm looking at you. Improvement is possible for that child, but we do have to get the challenging behavior under control, and we can. We really can. If there's one thing that I want my time here with you to accomplish, it's that you know that this is not something you have to live with. And seriously, fill in the blank. If it's that your child is biting you, if your child is hitting you, if your child's biting themselves, hitting themselves, kicking holes in walls, whatever it is, your child won't eat, whatever it is, we can make progress. I promise you, and I don't say that lightly. It may take a while and it may be work, but it's worth it. It is so, so worth it. Okay, some of the different things that we have going on today. We've got, in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by our wonderful blogger moms. Their blog is laughingthroughtears.com, and they're hilarious. Just go and read their bios. They're hilarious. And then a little bit later, we're going to show you another mission possible. This is looking at a family who's gotten some help and what's possible. We have a social tip for you that I think is really going to be something exciting. And then at the top of the hour, we've got so much to do. BCBA Angela Persicke is going to be with us talking about a whole host of topics, in particular talking about challenging behavior. But we're going to be taking your questions. So for the person who, we've already gotten 2 questions that have come in. I'm not forgetting you. Hang on, because we're going to get there, but we're going to take a break and come back with our autism blogger moms. Stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
2nd.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Did you have some gases?
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider. And if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible. Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and we are joined right now via Skype by two really hilarious autism moms. Eric and Lisa are with us from their blog is laughingthroughtears.com. And if you have not read their blog, you need to stop doing what you're doing and go and read their blog because it is, I promise you, you're going to get a laugh. They're two very funny women. So welcome to Autism Live, Erica and Lisa. There you are. Hi.
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 So thrilled to have you guys. And the subtitle on your blog, you have Laughing Through Tears. I'm reading it. 2 women, 4 autism diagnosis, many cocktails.
Yes.
Right.
So keeping the sense of humor. Tell us, first of all, because each one of you has 2 kids, tell us about your kids for just a second. And introduce yourselves so that they know which is which.
Okay, hi, I'm Lisa, and I have 2 boys, both diagnosed. Michael is 9. He is, I like to call him retro autism, whereas Eric is really more new age autism. You know, it's kind of a vintage thing. Yeah, Michael's a little more on the severe end of the spectrum. Eric is our one verbal token child.
Okay.
So you know, he's kind of awesome because he can interpret what all the other kids are saying. He sort of speaks the language, which is kind of awesome.
Okay, awesome. And Lisa?
Oh, I'm Erica.
Erica,
I have
sorry.
7-year-old twins, identical twin boys, and they both have classic autism.
Okay, and so you two did not know each other before your kids were diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
But you were saying during the break you guys met at a support group. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, Erica actually is a founding member of a local group that we put together, and basically it started out with a couple of moms who sat back and said, hey, wouldn't it be nice to sit back and have a glass of wine with other moms who get it and maybe not talk about autism for 20 minutes? And so they circulated flyers throughout all the early intervention schools, and we got a local group together, and that's how Erica and I met.
And then at what point did the two of you sit there and say, you know what, we should write a blog together? How did that happen?
You want me to? Okay. I'll just do all the cake. It's cool. Yeah, let's see. Well, you know, when you're stuck home, especially when your kids are littler and you're stuck home, it's really isolating. And so we discovered, hey, the way we could actually have social lives was through social media. And Facebook chat became our new lifeline and best friend. And so, you know, we could stay home and we could watch our kids and we could take care of everything. And at the same time, we could have, you know, a little chat window open and, you know, have a social life.
Yeah.
And so instead of, because, you know, we can't be on the phone or anything because, you know, we constantly juggle. So instead, we would just have a chat room open and have a conversation whenever we could get to it. And then we realized our conversations were kind of funny. And then, you know, the kids went to bed and we had a couple glasses of wine and we wondered if maybe they would be funny enough that other people would find them funny.
And they are funny, ladies. Your posts are hilarious. You have both of you have a wonderful turn of phrase that is very uplifting and hilarious and truthful. You know, whenever we feature bloggers on here, one of the words that I always say is truthful and honest because that's what hits home. I can read one of your blogs and laugh and maybe have a sniffle in the same blog because it's honest. It's to the bone honest, which I really appreciate. Were either of you, what were your lives before autism? Were either of you comedians? Were you writers? What was the story?
I think we both dabbled a little bit with writing.
Yeah. Oh, look, here's our agent.
Oh. Got a cat at top.
Love it. The agent.
He has special needs also, so it's all good.
Of course.
No, I don't think that we were,
I was a nurse.
I was a teacher.
Okay.
So
Well, that takes a sense of humor.
Yeah.
It definitely does. All right, well, let's talk a little bit specifically. Right now, you've got a blog, Oh, Antarctica, because you got a little bit of a push. What are you trying to do with Antarctica?
do you have anybody?
I was going through my memory bank thinking, do I know anybody in Antarctica, or do I know anybody who knows anybody? But maybe somebody watching knows somebody in Antarctica. Tell our viewers why you want to know somebody in Antarctica right now.
Well, we have readers on every continent, and that's pretty cool. Well, except for that one.
Except for Antarctica. Okay.
There's people there.
And so you just need so you just need one person on the continent of Antarctica to click on your site for what, 10 seconds?
Sure.
And then you'll be on every
blog, on the actual blog, not the Facebook
Okay,
page.
on the blog, which again is laughingthroughtears.com. All right, so if anybody out there watching knows anybody in Antarctica, this is what your big push is right now. Now,
Petitions to, yeah.
We just want one person in Antarctica.
We're not that
on our
deep.
blog.
Okay. I have actually referenced you guys before on the blog because when you guys did the blog about the top 5 reasons not to piss off an autism mom, I was in tears laughing. But I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. I kind of want to post it on my car and take it with me so that when I go to places, I can say to people, read this and get back to me. It's absolutely wonderful, and you had a huge response to it. For anybody who hasn't read it, go to their site and read it, but which one of you wrote that blog?
I wrote that one.
Okay, so tell us, was there really an event in a bookstore that spurred that?
There really was an event in the bookstore.
I love it.
It wasn't my proudest moment.
Okay. I'm sure I can relate. What happened in the bookstore?
Oh gosh. There was my son saw something in the coffee shop that was attached to the bookstore that he really wanted, and he wanted it really loudly. And I was doing my best to get him to want it a little quieter. And this woman that I don't think liked any children, let alone spectrum-y children, made some unkind comments. And I'm not proud of some of the comments I made back.
We've all had that moment, though, and I think it's one of those things we all have to accept that sometimes I know I've been in a circumstance where somebody has gotten the entire wrath for every person who has ever said anything to me in that one moment focused on their forehead. So, you're in good company. I, too, have said things that I wished I have not said to people, and I think a lot of people out there have done that. So, and then as a result, you decided to write the blog about it?
That was actually, I didn't write the blog as an immediate response. It had happened a little while ago. It takes me a little while to process things sometimes, which is why I update so infrequently. But no, I think one of the coolest things about that particular blog was that we did get this huge response, like almost immediately that thing was going crazy. And I think that it's just a sign of how disenfranchised autism moms and dads, everyone got mad at me for leaving the dads off, but I think it's just kind of a sign about how disenfranchised that we feel, because we do get cut off and isolated, even, from the friends that we used to have, from the family members that even if they're there and trying to be supportive, maybe don't always get it.
Yeah.
And I think that it was just sort of like a cathartic release for everybody who got to see it and maybe, laugh and realize that they weren't completely alone on their little islands.
Yeah, well, I thought it was brilliant, and I wish that everybody in the world would read it because it's funny enough that maybe somebody would get it. Somebody who doesn't have a child with autism could read it and go, okay, maybe I get this a little bit, and maybe they would cut our kids and us some slack. Now, there was another blog that you guys, there have been plenty of blogs that have been absolutely wonderful, and I hate to just pick two, but you had one that was a hilarious chart about the differences between the DSM-4 and the DSM-5. And so if your child has this diagnosis, you could follow through a bunch of blocks to see where you're going to end up on the DSM-5, and it was really hilarious. Which one of you wrote that blog?
Well, we worked on that one together.
That was collaborative.
And what was the genesis for that one? Why did that come about?
Well, there were just so many people getting in an uproar about what this thing that wasn't even going to come out for another year was going to entail. And it just seemed like people were just really freaking out.
Yeah.
And the article that they kept referencing was an interview with somebody who'd left the project very, very early and clearly had an axe to grind and was very interested in flaming things. And we just thought everybody should just take a minute and chill and just wait and see before they took to the internet and Twitter and everywhere else.
And so what is the title of that blog so people can go and take a look at it? Because it's about calming down.
DSM hysteria or calm the hell down people. I think
It's a long one.
It's a long one, yeah. And I know I experienced the same thing, that I, of course, had trepidation and feelings about it when the studies came out. There was the whole article in the New York Times about none of our children are going to have a diagnosis anymore as a result of this. And then as the dust all settled, we all realized we don't really know yet.
Exactly.
We haven't really seen it. Since then we've seen what the current writing of it was, but even now it's changed and we haven't been able to see it again. So, but isn't it amazing how quickly they can stir us all up into a tizzy, how quickly.
It just takes one person to post about it and 5 people to forward it, and next thing you know, it's complete pandemonium.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
and we like making fun of people like that.
Well, that's a good pastime because my husband has a T-shirt that's from an autism organization that says, "If you think my hands are full, you should really check out my heart." And I can only imagine that with the 4 of you with 4 children on the autism spectrum, that your hands are full.
That's for sure.
We hear that a lot.
and I'm sure, though, and it's evident in your blogs and in talking to you, that your hearts are even more full. Because in everything that you guys write, it's evident that you care deeply, as funny as you are, you care deeply about your kids and you care deeply about them getting the help and support that they need. And I really appreciate that as an autism mom.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear.
We're glad that comes through.
It absolutely does. So for viewers who have not seen your blog before, where do you want to send them to? Do you want them to go to your Facebook page, your blog, or both? What's the best place for them to go to?
We're funniest on Facebook.
Okay.
Because we, in addition to the big blogs, we put out lots of little things because we're too lazy to write the full ones. So if you find Laughing Through Tears on Facebook, that's where we're funniest.
I don't think I'm friends with you on Facebook. I'm going to fix that today. I'm going to fix that today, but because I've seen the blog before. But okay, so Facebook, and so it's Laughing Through Tears on Facebook?
Yeah, it's Laughing Through Tears on Facebook. And then, the website is laughingthroughtears.com. And we're LTT Twits on Twitter, but we don't know how to use Twitter.
Well, nobody answers us.
I was talking about this earlier because we had Shelley Hendricks from Autism Votes on yesterday, and today is October Surprise. I don't know if you guys have gotten the emails about it yet, but we're all supposed to be tweeting today at our different politicians to get them to, we want autism to be a part of the discussion. And Shelley was saying that autism moms are not as much of a presence on Twitter. And I said, well, I'm trying, but I don't really get it either. Maybe we need to have like an autism mom Twitter conference so somebody can explain it to all of us. Because apparently we need to be more of a presence there in order to be heard. So maybe we can all do that together.
Yeah, okay.
We'll find one mom who gets it and have her explain it to all of us.
There are a few moms over on Twitter. We just, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're not the most technically savvy of people.
Nor I. Facebook is easier. Well,
character restriction.
Oh, yeah.
But so having to speak in a short sentence is hard for me. But so tell us again where we can find you on Twitter.
LTT Twits.
LTT Twits. Okay, great. I thank you ladies so much, and I hope that you'll check back with us in the future. Let us know what you guys have going on, and we wish you and your children the best.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. So that was Erica and Lisa, authors of Laughing Through Tears. You can find it at laughingthroughstears.com. I guarantee you it's a good use of your time. And find them on Facebook, which is what I'm going to do during the break. Stick with us. We're going to come back and answer the questions that you guys have been writing in this morning. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and this is my son Jem. We're here today at the Home Depot. You might know that Home Depot is famous for giving free classes to adults on lots of things like tiling and other home crafts. Well, they also have free classes for kids as well. It's called the Kids Workshop. We love doing that, don't we, Jem?
Yeah.
It's cool. So come on inside with us and let's do a craft.
Yay.
The Kids Workshop is a program that's been around with Home Depot almost since we've been a company, and it's been developed to allow kids in the community to come in and give them an opportunity to build something, to be able to create something and be able to take just simple wood pieces and put them together with nails and hammers and screwdrivers and then paint them.
So you do this every first Saturday of the month.
Any Home Depot that you go to on the first Saturday of every month between 9 and 12, you can join different associates throughout different stores and build these projects with these kids.
And do they have to do anything beforehand, or can they just show up on that Saturday?
All they need to do is show up. We have all the tools, all the materials that the kids will need. We have aprons that we give to the kids that they can take home and maintain their pins. They get pins on a regular basis for completing projects. With that, they can keep track of how many projects they've done. And
it's all free.
It's all absolutely free, all provided.
Which is wonderful. And Wilson, I have to say, you guys devised this for all kids to be able to do this.
Correct.
What I particularly love about it as an autism mom, it gives my child a place to come and learn a new skill, to socialize with kids of all kinds.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. Home Depot is definitely loves to be involved with the community and bring the community in to work with us. That's what we love to do.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to take a second. We got a couple of questions, comments, and the first one here. Hi, Shannon. My question for you today, it's shrinking up on me. My question for you today is about how to help physical education class the most beneficial for my 10-year-old son, who is mainstream with a full-time aide. In the environment of a large gymnasium, he gets distracted with every noise, therefore rarely gets the direction the first time. Just wondering how this class works for Jem, and if you have any advice I could relay to his PT teacher. Okay, great question. And of course, it's different for all of our kids. So, and since you asked about my son, Jem, I will tell you, I live in Southern California, and so it's a little bit different here, that we don't have, in most schools that have been made in the last 50 years in Southern California, we don't have gymnasiums anymore. It's the weirdest thing. I'm not from Southern California, but it is the most bizarre thing I have ever run across in my life. They have, and I think a lot of schools around the country are doing more and more of this, but very prevalent in Southern California. They have the multi-purpose room. It's the one-size-fits-all. It's got a stage in it. It's where kids eat lunch when they can't eat outside. But most days, even in the dead of winter, our kids eat outside unless it gets below a certain temperature or there's rain or something, and then they bring them inside, and there's just barely enough room to squeeze the kids in. And they can use it for lots of different things. Here's the bad thing about it, is that it doesn't leave as much room. Like, there's no basketball hoops inside, and the floor is a one-purpose floor, so they don't have the wood planked floor that you have in the old gymnasiums. But the good part about it is that there's so much stuff in this room, and there's stuff on the walls, that it doesn't have the echoey thing that happens in those old gymnasiums where you bounce the ball and it just, it's cascading sound into the rafters. So I don't have to deal with the gymnasium. And most of the time because of the way things are in Southern California, when they do physical education, it's usually a teacher who is doing it. The teacher actually is responsible for doing that time with their child, and they do it mostly outside, and it's more of a social, they play kickball and they do things like that, So, and that's for the lower grades. It's organized, and I don't mean to make it sound like it's not, but it's outdoors. It's the kinds of things that your kids in different places around the world get to do in the spring, and in the very early fall before it turns cold, like going out and playing baseball, going out and playing kickball. They have different games that they play that encourage them to be physical. They're getting out and being physical. It's just not the same as when I went to school and the kinds of PE that you had. It's, you would only have that in the spring and the fall. Okay, so our circumstances are kind of different. So I want to give you that disclaimer. But having said that, one of the things early on, when my son was first evaluated at the age of 3, the school did a sweeping evaluation of absolutely everything to take a baseline. And then every 3 years, they do a triannual IEP, and unless we specifically ask them not to, they evaluate as many of the things as are appropriate unless he's already met the goals. Well, in his first evaluation at age 3, he tested as being somebody who needed OT, but not needing APE. APE is adaptive physical education. And in terms of my son's coordination at the age of 3, he was a little bit ahead of where he was supposed to be for his age. So they didn't assign him any APE, and that was left alone. By the time he got to kindergarten, I felt that that was no longer true. I was watching my son on the playground and watching him trying to pull himself up, and he wasn't having the ability to do that. And he didn't have the coordination of other kids. So I requested in writing that that year he be reevaluated to see if he qualified for APE, Adaptive Physical Education. And he was evaluated because I requested it. And if you request it in writing, they have to evaluate your child within a specific amount of time. It's different in different states, but there is a law of how much time that they has to pass before they do it. Especially if your child already has a diagnosis, they're going to have to do it. So the person will, test your child to see where they're at, and if they're at a certain place, then they will qualify for adaptive physical education. My son did qualify, and as a result, he had a person who would come to the classroom, and we negotiated how that would happen, just like with speech. With speech, we've talked before about push in, pull out, and group setting and one-on-one setting, right? Same thing with APE. And at one point, just like with speech, there was speech where they would come into the classroom, but they would also take him out. And at that point, his out was one-on-one. We would do that after school hours. And eventually now we're at the point where the speech teacher comes in to consult, sometimes with the teacher, but we just do that lunch bunch thing where it's a social environment 1 day a week where he has other kids from his class come and play games, and it's supervised for him to learn social language. It's like that with APE as well, that you can ask if it's appropriate to have the APE teacher come to your child's physical education class and be there at the same time to be helping your child to cope with the sensory issues. But you can also ask for the OT person to come and be there. That's a great time to do a push-in for an OT if you're in a gymnasium and there's all this sound echoing, because they can help to identify what the sounds are and what's appropriate for your individual child. There are some kids that will wear earplugs, like in one ear or in both ears, to kind of deaden all that echoey thing if that ends up being something that's an issue for your child. And you can also see if there needs to be additional instruction, because the point of the time that your child is in physical education, they're supposed to be getting the standards for that physical education. But if your child's issues with what am I trying to say? I totally lost my mind here. But sensory, that's the word that I want. Senior moment. If your child's having sensory issues that's preventing them within the setting, it may mean that they have to have additional APE at a different time in a different location. My son used to have his AP in the 20 minutes before school, and the AP teacher would show up and they would go to the multi-purpose room, and he would have a bunch of things to set up, and there were a bunch of kids who would come. It was like the Pied Piper. They would come with him and they would interact with him, so that it wasn't him doing it by himself, but he would say, who wants to, do something, and 5 or 6 kids would come, and it got to be the same 5 or 6 kids after a year or so, and they would participate with him, and it was a really fun thing for all of them. And my son got to the point where he no longer needs that. So we don't have that anymore. But I know that when he gets to junior high, then we go back to the gymnasiums, and we may have to do that again, at which point I will ask for him to be evaluated. I will talk to the OT and say, I need you to do a push-in during physical education to identify the sensory issues. And if need be, you might see that you need some additional AP, or maybe the APE needs to push in during that time as well. Because it can't be that our kids are ever in a situation where we're just throwing them in and saying you're just going to have to suffer through this. That isn't allowed. The teachers can't do that. But by the same token, the typical physical education teacher, they're not equipped to understand sensory what your child needs. So I would suggest getting some other people in there and having the OT make recommendations to the phys ed teacher about what's appropriate for your child's sensory needs. I'm so glad I remembered the word sensory. Okay, so let me know how that works out, because I can't imagine. I'm not a big gymnasium person because I can't stand the echoey. We can see the results of that. So hopefully that's not going to be the case for your child, because they can work that out. And not only that, they have to. They have to. And if it comes to the point where somebody says, look, for a period of time, not forever, but for a period of time, we need to be outside, or we need to be in the hallway, or wherever, until we can work on, if it is sensory noises, whatever it is, they need to work on it. They need to find the way. They have to accommodate him. So good luck with that. Now, somebody else had written in about our question today about challenging behavior. And I'm just going to read these because we might have an opportunity to talk about some of these with Angela Persicke today, who's going to be joining us at the top of the hour. She's a BCBA, board certified behavior analyst. So they wrote in and said, I wish I could change his desire to repeat TV shows, shrunk up on me again, repeat songs, repeat phrases, repeat the way he plays with his toys the same way. I wish I could teach him to be creative. I wish I could teach him to speak like his peers. I wish I could teach him maturity. And these things are all going to come with time. All of these things are going to come with time. It's so much easier for me to say this to you than it is for me to do this myself. But we say patience. Patience with ourselves, because of course you want that. Of course you want that. Of course you want that for your child. Your child's entitled to that, and you're entitled to all of those things. And those things are going to come. But you have to be patient. And we're going to hold hands while we wait for it. Okay, another person who has written in, I would like to know from a former teacher's perspective, how should a parent offer support to the teacher when your child's acting out in class? That Twitter explanation is a good idea. Yeah, we need to get somebody on here to explain Twitter to us, don't we? All right, I'm going to make that happen. Okay. So the teacher perspective, how should we offer support to the teacher when your child's acting out in class? Well, first of all, I want to say that from both sides, having, now going in and talking to my son's teacher and having been a teacher, what I love is knowing that the parent, as a teacher, that the parent is aware. I think that that's first and foremost, knowing that the parent is aware and going to listen and back me up at home. But one of the things that I try to do when I go and talk to my son's teacher is say, here, I like to let them know ahead of time what behaviors they might see so that they don't come up as a surprise. This came up yesterday, in fact, because my son's been doing really well this year, and there hasn't been an issue with a whole lot of things that sometimes are an issue. And I had said to the teacher, I'm so glad I'm so excited, but I want to remind you that you may see some of, this, and this, and there isn't a whole lot of warning sometimes that that's my particular child. And she said, okay, that's really good to know. And then yesterday, for the first time, she saw one of those particular behaviors, and she said to me, I'm so glad you told me that that was a possibility, because I really wouldn't have thought that that was a possibility. And, so, we don't want to make it sound too terrible and dire, but to let teacher know, here are some behaviors we've seen in the past, here are some behaviors we see at home from time to time, and here's what they look like. And then to say to them, here is what we're trying to do at home to help you, and asking the question, what's best for you? What's best for you? Do you like it if I come in the classroom? Do you like it if I advocate? I don't want to appear to be going over your head. If we're seeing a behavior and it happens more than a couple of days, I'm comfortable with asking for a functional behavior assessment, but are you comfortable with that? Or would you rather that come from you? To really open that door and say, I really want to communicate with you with this. And I always try to remind my teachers and say, you're doing an awesome job. How can I get you some more help and support with this? How would you like to be supported towards this? I will tell you, I say that to all of our teachers. There have been some teachers where I really, really felt like the teacher right now is doing an awesome job. There was at least one teacher along the way that I didn't think was doing an awesome job, but I still said to her, I think you're doing an awesome job. Just like we reward approximations for our children, I wanted her to feel like that she was doing an awesome job, because it wasn't her fault that she wasn't doing an awesome job. You know what I mean? So I would ask the teacher and say, I want you to know this behavior isn't okay with me. Here's what we're doing at home. How can I best support you in this? Do you want some more information? Would you like me to call an IEP meeting? Because there are some teachers who'd be like, yes, if you would ask for the FBA, not the FBI, that's an entirely different thing. If you would ask for the FBA, that would help me out a lot. And there are other teachers who are like, oh no, if you ask for the FBA, that's going to make me look like an idiot, and that you went over my head, and that I don't know what I'm doing. So I always try to, ask the teacher, what's going to help you? I know you're with my child, and I appreciate you being with my child. And you're with them sometimes more hours than I am in the day. So what can I do to support you? And if they don't appear to know, then that's when you got to be concerned. Because if they don't know what to do, then ask and say, can I make some suggestions? Can I get somebody in to help you do X, Y, and Z? I'm in a really fortunate position because my son was a client of CARD, so I could always say, would you like somebody from CARD to come in and look at the situation and make some recommendations? And I would call CARD and say, hey, what can we put in place? And if you have an ABA provider, you might want to ask them how they feel about that. Sometimes the school won't let them into the classroom, but your ABA provider can say, we know your child really well. Here's what would be really beneficial for your child in the classroom. Have the teacher try this. And if the teacher is open to it, that can be a major win-win-win. Okay, we've got to take a break and show you the A Word. This is the wonderful documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy, Jack Riley, who is, he's about to be 4 now, but at this point in the video, he is 2. He's about 6 weeks into ABA therapy, and he's making a lot of progress. Check out how he's building his vocabulary. You'll see at one point that the therapist probes to see what receptive labels he knows, so that they're not going to teach those receptive labels. If he already knows it, they're going to teach things he doesn't know. We're not wasting anybody's time, right? It's really important to see where the child is and tailor the lessons to what they don't know. So take a look. This is the A Word.
A. B. Good word. You say T. Oh, there's Miss Jessica. Hello.
Hi.
Say hi.
Ready? What do you see? What is it? What's that?
Giraffe. He's getting really good at that.
What's that guy? Who's this guy?
We have this one program called NVI, which is non-vocal imitation. So he basically has to imitate whatever we do. So we were working on object manipulation, and then Tuesday, I tried doing more gross motor things like clapping hands or standing or jumping, and he was able to imitate all of those.
Ready? Do this. Yay! Very good. Okay, here you go. Who's hiding now? Me? Do this. Good job. Okay, here you go. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, ready? Do this. Yay! All right. Here you go, Rockstar. Oh, that's so cool. All right, you ready? Do this. Good job. Very good.
So that was actually a fine motor action with a touch nose.
Oh, yeah. How did that happen? You want more? You want more of this? More? Okay. Good asking. We'll do a couple more actions, okay? Do this. Good job. Do this. Good job. Do this. Good try. See here. Can you try? Do this. There you go. All right. Here you go.
He's been doing a lot more on his own, even just when I attempt him by just holding the object, not necessarily asking him to imitate more. Cat, that's right. He does do it on his own now, which is really cool.
Good asking, buddy. Out. Line that up. That one's up. Oh, there you go. See? How many up do you want to go?
You touch the block?
God, what is it? Good job.
Sorry, I'm just curious.
That's cool. Okay. I'm interested too. Touch shoes. Where's the shoes? That's a good try. Okay. Let's see. You touch crab. Where's the crab? Can you touch it with your finger though? Thank you. Did you see that? What is it? Crab. See, crab. That was so funny. I didn't specify, huh? Touch block. Good job. What is it? What is this? Block.
This is his receptive labels, so what I just did basically. And our supervisor had written down things that's in his environment that he might not know or that he might know the labels to, or if he's just seen it or heard the label for it, not necessarily know how to say it per se. And I just went through block, guitar, bear, plane, cat with him, and so he actually knows all of them. So I'm actually going to go through his environment just to see other things like shoes. He actually knew almost everything on here except fork, I think. Yeah. So that's actually really impressive. You amaze me every day, kiddo.
We're taking a walk. We just finished dinner, getting ready to go to bed. But part of our after dinner tradition suddenly has been to take a walk. Make sure. Say, come on, Mama. Come on, Mama. Right, Jack? And then we say, stop. Go. Stop. Go. So we're practicing our stops and goes. Stop. Good stopping. Go. Stop. Good stopping, Jack. Stop. Good stopping. Good job, love.
Look at me.
Say bye-bye.
Welcome back. That was the A Word. I can't say it enough how much I love watching this series, and I hope that you guys check it out on YouTube. They have their very own YouTube channel, and you can watch the full progression. I remember saying a year ago, you know what's amazing about this is I know the progression of ABA. It's that book that you've read before, and now you're reading it again, and you can savor parts of it because you didn't know what was going to happen before, and now you can slow down instead of keep turning the pages. And I remember saying to somebody, what's really going to be amazing is when there's more than a year of the A Word to show people so that they can go back and watch a skill be acquired and go back and look at the tiny little seed that was planted here that got put together with all these other things that arrives at this blossom of behavior. And you can do that now. There's more than a year, and it's really, really exciting. And I know they just finished doing a special on potty training. So I just want to tell you, it's really good to check that out. Even if you're past that, it's good to go back and check it out because it's the principles of ABA, of taking these really small things, mastering them, and then putting these pieces together and arriving at something much bigger. It really is amazing, and you really can see the arc of ABA there. I was saying during the break we were watching, and they were showing Jessica, who is the main therapist that they show on the show, and I said, boy, she's a really good therapist. And she was one of my son's therapists. It's just coincidental because, we live here, and it's not that she's the only therapist that my son ever had. We probably had more than 150 people come through our doors from beginning to end, but she was one of the therapists that we really loved and enjoyed, and I was saying she just is the soul of patience. And I learned a lot about patience in teaching from her because she's very good at that, keeping it together. There's an episode coming up that we're going to be showing in a couple of weeks where we see Jack Riley, he's not happy and he's got places he wants to go, and she's just really patient and gentle with him. And I was mentioning that on our journey through autism, at one point, when Jessica was one of our main therapists, we were living in a condo, and because you never just have autism, other things happen too. And our landlord died, is the long and the short of it. And before he died, he was reorganizing his finances and hadn't paid his mortgage, even though we were paying rent, hadn't paid it in a while because he was about to restructure all of his loans. He owned a lot of property. But in any case, so he died, and nobody told us that he died for quite a while. And then all of a sudden, it was a very much hurry up because the unit was being foreclosed upon, even though we had been paying rent. Because autism isn't enough. And Jessica was therapist with us during that period of time. And I can remember she would come to the door and I would say, great, I'm so glad you're here. We're getting in the car. We're going to look at an apartment because we had to move very quickly. And so sometimes she was doing therapy with my child while we were looking at other apartments. And it made me think about the fact that the holidays are coming. They are soon upon us, and for those of you who are out there who are getting ABA therapy, I want to remind you that whatever's going on, whatever's happening with your life, whether it's holidays or family visiting, keep doing therapy. It's really the best of it, because these are the life things that you have to do. And so if Aunt Beth is coming over and she's going to stay for 4 days, have the therapist keep coming. You will be happy that you did that, because stuff will come up while Aunt Beth is there that you're going to want a therapist there helping you to deal with it. For those of you who don't have ABA and you're thinking, what in the heck are you talking about? This is what I hope for all of you, because you guys know more than anybody else that you need to apply these things in all situations, including holidays. I think there is this idea that parents have that they're like, well, the holidays are coming, so we're not going to have therapy. Yep, sometimes you're not, because your ABA provider isn't going to send somebody on Christmas Day or on Thanksgiving Day. But if you have the opportunity to have therapy sessions the day after Thanksgiving, take that therapist shopping with you, because that's the nit and grit and meat of stuff that you got to work on. Your child not running away from the shopping cart in a sensory crazy place, right? Take them with you to the grocery store. Have them there with you. That's part of ABA. We got to give these lessons legs, take it out into the community. Take them with you. My therapist will tell you that we took them places that you'd be shocked. We went to museums. They went with me for doctor's appointments. We went. Take them with you. So that's my thing about that. All right, we're taking a break. We're going to be joined by Angela Persicke, BCBA. When we come back, great time to be asking questions. And she is going to be talking with us a little bit about extinction and challenging behavior. So stick with us.
Skills is a revolutionary web-based program that incorporates comprehensive assessment, curriculum design, progress tracking, and treatment evaluation for children with autism all in one place. Developed by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Our approach is based on over 40 years of research on the principles of learning and their application to improving the lives of children with autism. How does Skills work? Created with speed and simplicity in mind, Skills was modeled on an easy 3-step process. Step 1. Start assessment. Step 1 begins with our intelligent assessment system, which consists of a series of questions. This assessment is essential to identifying your child's level of skills compared to their typical peers across all areas of development. This includes assessing social, motor, language, adaptive, play, cognition, executive functions, and academic skills. Every skill has an assigned age which indicates when the skill emerges during typical development. This means that each child is automatically presented only with lessons that are relevant to his or her age. Step 2. Choosing activities. It's now easier than ever to build an individualized treatment plan. In Step 2, you are presented with an individualized pool of activities that are directly linked to your student's assessment results. Each activity represents a specific skill that has been indicated by the assessment as needing to be taught. Activities are categorized by curriculum and then by lesson. There are 3 main types of skills: building blocks, fundamental, and expansion skills. Fundamental skills are necessary for successful everyday functioning. Building blocks are prerequisites to a fundamental skill. Expansion skills are non-essential skills, but may provide further enrichment in certain areas. After reviewing the activities available to you, you can quickly add your chosen activities to the treatment plan by simply checking the box and clicking the button. Step 3. Start treatment. Once you have selected and added the activities you want, you are ready to begin teaching. Skills provides you with all the tools necessary to design and manage an effective curriculum plan, such as printable activity guides that are customizable by the teacher, supplemental teaching aids including printable data sheets, teaching guides, visual aids, worksheets, and tracking forms, detailed IEP goals and benchmarks for each activity, brief and visually appealing video tutorials, a variety of treatment progress and clinical timeline charts, and lots more. And since Skills is completely web-based, everything you need is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in one easy-to-access location. Skills users even benefit from unlimited access to a support community, where they can ask questions and share ideas with a skills expert. Skills is always with you.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It's Thursday, so our special guest right now is BCBA Angela Persicke. So glad to have you back with us again.
Glad to be back.
And I'm thrilled to have you. You and I had a little bit of a chat yesterday about some of our topics this week, challenging behavior, and I was telling you that we had covered extinction and extinction burst as part of our jargon terms on Monday and Tuesday. But this is a tough topic for parents.
Very tough. Very tough.
Understanding it, and not only that, it took me a really long time. I'm not even 100% sure that I completely get it now, but what was really hard was explaining it to other people.
Yes.
So that if somebody was interacting with my child. So, and I know you were going to talk with us a little bit about extinction and extinction burst. So should we go over the two terms slightly first?
Yeah, sure. Well, with extinction, I know we have all these jargony words and all these technical terms, but really it just means that we're not providing reinforcement anymore for the behavior. So whatever it was reinforcing the behavior before, we're not going to give that reinforcement anymore.
And I think the key, though, is that you have to know what was reinforcing the behavior before.
Exactly, and that's where we go into determining the function of the behavior. Is it attention? Is it escape? For tangibles, whatever is functioning as the reinforcer, we need to pinpoint that. Because what happens, especially with challenging behavior, is if that we assume that one thing is a reinforcer and it's not, then taking that away won't make a difference in reducing the behavior.
So, like, the example that comes to mind for me is that if your child is constantly engaging in challenging behavior right when you go to put them in the bathtub, and it could be anything from running down the hallway or biting you or whatever, and you have the BCBA come in and the BCBA says, okay, well, looking at all the factors here, that the function of the behavior here is escape. That they are trying to get out of getting into the bathtub. And so if we were going to put that on extinction, what we would do is no longer allow them to escape from the bathtub even for a second. So even if the child is biting and doing whatever because they don't want to get in the bathtub, even if it was that we couldn't undress them, we would stick them into the bathtub fully dressed to say, it doesn't matter, you're going to have to do this no matter what happens, you're getting in the bathtub. But if they said that the function of the behavior was attention, we wouldn't be giving attention for it. So it really matters what the function of the behavior was.
It very much matters. And a lot of times we'll also see that often children engage in escape behaviors, so wanting to get out of things. But also, while they're engaging in those behaviors, attention maintains that as well.
So it can be more than one.
Yes, it can be. And it gets really tough in those situations because you can't provide attention, but also you need to make sure you're not taking away the demand as well. So what we will do is often stay right there and say, okay, we'll wait, we'll wait for you whenever you're ready. But not giving eye contact, not talking too much, saying, okay, get in the bath, get in the bath, get in the bath, because that is all maybe reinforcing as well.
Which is, I mean, I'm horribly, horribly guilty of that. And it's so much easier to recognize it in somebody else. Like my husband and I will always monitor each other in terms of that, because sometimes you're talking because you're nervous and you don't even know that you're talking. There are times when I'll say to my husband, he'll say, just to Jem, he'll say, so you need to do that, and you need to do that. And we're not going to talk about it anymore, but you need to do that. and I gotta put my hand on him like, okay, stop now. You gotta stop. And he has to do that to me a lot.
Yeah, and that really, you have to think about what is maintaining your own behavior as well. A lot of times we will want to get out of the certain situations. So our own behavior is for escape.
Yes,
So think about when you're in a store and your child starts engaging in tantruming behavior. What we always say is, okay, you have to be consistent and not provide attention, and but not also reward the child and let the child get out of the situation. If it is just going to a store,
right.
And taking the child out of the store might actually be a reinforcer for that. But it's hard when you're in a public place and your child's screaming and everyone's looking at you. You want to get out of it too, and so you have to look at your own behavior too, and what is reinforcing your own behavior.
But it all comes down to me over and over and over again about what is the most important thing in the moment. And so that if you sometimes, and I was just thinking of a time when I was in Macy's and I needed to get something, and it wasn't the ideal circumstance. I mean, who wants to go shopping with a child on the autism spectrum in Macy's? It's not what you want to do anyway, right? But I was in a tight spot and I needed to get something. I think it was a gift for somebody and I needed to get it, and my child was engaging in all kinds of challenging behavior. And as I look back on it, clearly he wanted to leave because being at Macy's for a gift for somebody was not what he wanted to do. And in truth, it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but I needed to do it, right? And so you were bringing up that example, and I flashed on this memory of, I really was like, I need to get out of here. I want to get out of here. And I don't remember whether I did or I didn't, but thinking about, what am I teaching? So if I leave the store with him, what am I going to teach him? I'm going to teach him that if you tantrum while you're in the store with me, I will give in.
Exactly.
And as uncomfortable as I might be in the moment, I don't want to teach that, because then I will be that kind of uncomfortable on a regular basis.
Exactly. And the more you almost tell yourself that I need to, this is what I'm looking at, and not letting those other factors, the people looking at you and not wanting to be in that situation, trying to not let those bother you too much. It's hard. It's very, very hard. And I know even for me, when I have a little dog, and when my dog starts barking at other dogs, I just want to take him and run away. And, but in the moment, of course, you have to think of what is the best teaching procedure for that specific behavior.
Yeah. Can I tell you, I haven't shared this before on the show, I was just thinking about this. When we went to go school shopping for shoes this year, I engaged in challenging behavior. I did it. I was like, I wasn't getting my needs met. I'm an adult, right? We know that. I am not on the spectrum. We were in a shoe store and I was trying to get my son to put on shoes, and he was more interested in something else that was going on because they were demoing a helicopter or something, and my husband wasn't really paying attention. And I had tried a couple of times to say to them, hey, you guys, I need you to focus up. I wasn't feeling particularly well. I was really, really tired. So, I had all that going on, and they weren't listening to me, and I couldn't get their attention. And do you know what I did? I just laid down in the middle of the store and said, okay, I'm done. And I laid down in the middle of the store. And my husband was mortified. He was absolutely mortified. And he was like, would you get up? You're embarrassing me. Would you please get up? And it was this whole big discussion. But I was done. I had had it. And I tried to ask them nicely, and I didn't want to lose my mind and start yelling in the store. So I just laid down in the middle of the aisle. And boy, the reaction that I got from the two of them, I have to be quite honest with you, if I were somebody who was younger, I would do it again, because I got what I wanted was for them to take personal responsibility and pay attention to what I wanted, which was to get the shoe shopping done to go home. And I'm 50.
Well, it's amazing, and that's where we talk about extinction bursts. This increase in behaviors after you start an extinction procedure or stop reinforcing the behavior.
Right.
And that's pretty much what you did too.
I did an extinction burst.
Well, and what we see with extinction is that the individual will vary their behavior to see what they can get. So you'll see an increase in the magnitude of the behavior, screaming, tantrum. It will just get bigger and louder. Or you'll see a bunch of different behaviors, like laying on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that before, that in an extinction burst you will see like not only more of what you have been seeing, but sometimes something new that you go, what in the heck is that?
And I always like to use the example of when you're trying to open a door and it's stuck.
Yeah.
You know, you first you just do the handle like you regularly would, and then you start moving it up and down and pushing at the door and doing all these different behaviors to see what will work.
Right. And sometimes even, you know, people have been known to kick the door to see if it'll open.
Exactly.
And you don't normally walk around kicking doors, but if the door is stuck, you know.
And if that worked the next time, if the door is stuck, you'll kick it and it will work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got a can opener that we have to bonk it a certain way to get it to work, and we're bonking the can opener. You would think I would just get a new one. So as a parent, the thing that I always try to think of in the middle of an extinction burst, my little mantra that I say to myself is, oh, look, it's an extinction burst. I've learned this over years. And what that means is that we got it right, that we got the function of the behavior right, and this is going to be a short period of time, and then this behavior is going to go away. But is there anything besides that we can be doing in an extinction burst to help ourselves to get through it and to help our child to learn quicker that this isn't going to work? What's our job?
Well, to keep not reinforcing the behavior. So to keep doing what you're doing that got you to that extinction burst.
Okay. So what we were doing, because the extinction burst is really a good thing?
Yeah, well, it's a good thing in the sense that the child is the child is realizing what was working before isn't working now.
Okay.
So it's not even necessarily like the child sits there and says to himself, "Oh, this isn't working. I'm going to try these other things," but it's just what we do.
Any more than us jiggling the doorknob. Exactly. We're not thinking, you know, what else. We're just like, come on.
Trying to do different things. Yeah. And so keep ignoring it, keep not allowing escape or whatever the function is, not reinforcing it, because what often happens with extinction bursts is that a parent or teacher, someone will reinforce the higher magnitude or level of a behavior. And so next time it's not just whining that occurs, it's this huge screaming tantrum, and it was because that was reinforced with the extinction burst. And you might see this a lot if you're in a store shopping and your child says, "Oh, I want this candy bar." You say, "No, not today." "Oh, I really want this candy bar." No. "I want it. And then it gets to a level and you just say, "Okay, here you go, you can have it." And so what happened is that you weren't reinforcing it, and then the child varied his behavior, and then you reinforce the higher level of behavior, and that's where we see these really high magnitude tantrums, and because that happens, it happens all the time.
It does happen, and I want everybody, as you're hearing this, and you hear it in that context, you think, "Oh, I would never do that," but we all do. If you went back through and looked at the different times that, like, in the moment you said, you know, "I just need my child to be able to do this so I can get this done," we've all done this, and I, you know, sometimes continue to do this. It doesn't make us, we're not bad people. It's just life on life's terms that sometimes it happens. So no blame or anything, but if you think for a second that you haven't done this, I would ask you to think again, because I can't imagine, and if you really haven't done it, we're going to make a monument to you, because I don't know any parent that hasn't done it.
I know.
It just happens.
It happens
just
all the
happens.
time.
Yes.
And we always say to choose your battles.
Yes.
So, you know, it's not like you're supposed to be this perfect example of consistency all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sometimes you want to let the child win.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just going to be easier for you and everyone else in that moment.
Right.
But if you almost want to plan for that.
Okay.
So if this is going to be a situation where you go to the store and you know your child's going to ask for something, and you need to just get out of the store, that's a moment where you need to choose your battle, but choose to reinforce the behavior that's at a lower magnitude, so it doesn't get to this high level of tantruming.
Okay. So if you're in a space where you can't really deal, and you know that you can't hold up the consequences, give in earlier as opposed to later. Is that what you mean? Okay. Because the longer we wait to give in, the more we've taught them about the extreme that they have to go to get it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the next time, that extreme will come sooner.
Well, I even wonder too, if you're in that situation, instead of rewarding the behavior, if you've got enough going on, if you can say to them something like, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the candy bar if you do X, Y, and Z, and have them have earned it for some sort of behavior. Even if it's just, if you can touch your nose 3 times, that's better than giving in for the behavior that we don't want to reinforce.
Exactly. Or if the child says, I want the candy, prompt an appropriate response, like, can I have the candy, please?
Right. That's a great thing. So that, then we've worked on appropriately asking for something.
And then you reinforce that behavior, and that behavior is more likely to occur the next time you go to the store.
Yeah. And I think that's a really key important point. We're going to take a break, and I think I want to come back and talk about that, about how sometimes a child engaging in a whole bunch of behavior, and you want to get them back on track, and about how many seconds we wait before we reinforce something else, how that's tied together for our children. Okay, so we're going to talk about that with Angela Persicke. We're going to take a break. Now's a great time to ask questions if you have about any things we've been talking about or any of the challenging behavior things that we've been talking about all week long. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and our special guest right now is BCBA Board Certified Behavior Analyst Angela Persicke. And we've been talking about challenging behavior all week long, and you just hit on something that I think is really worthwhile talking about some more. Because we've talked about extinction bursts, and sometimes to be really clear, not giving the reinforcement, and sometimes that's attention. So then we get into talking about ignoring, dicey thing. And I love the term planned ignoring. Because it's really hard to explain to people the difference between ignoring a child and ignoring a behavior.
Yes.
So can we start there? Sure. What's the difference between the two for somebody who's not had experience, so that we could explain it to teachers and babysitters? What's the difference between the two?
Instead of ignoring the behavior, a lot of times I like to say not attending to the behavior.
Okay, but what does that mean?
And that means that when the behavior occurs, we don't provide reinforcement for it. We don't do anything to show that that behavior is important, really. So we're not going to make eye contact during that behavior. We're going to look away. We're not going to say anything. And this is different from ignoring the child, because when we're going to meet the child's needs, but in an appropriate way. And we want to make sure that the child doesn't continue in these with these inappropriate behaviors, and that's why we ignore the behaviors, but we don't ignore the child.
Right.
And once we get to a point where we're talking about prompting an appropriate response. So what we usually do is initially wait for even like 1 to 3 seconds, even like very small. Sometimes if a child is crying, we wait for them to take a breath.
Right.
And then we just look at them, or like, you know, put our hand out, just that, and then as soon as they start crying again, look away.
Right.
But not crying as like sad and they need something, but for like tantruming.
Right, right. My son yesterday was not wanting to, he was in a little bit of a snit. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but it was time for him to do his homework. And he really didn't want to do it, but he knew he had to. And he knows that there's no getting out of it, there's no escape. And so he was sitting there and he was going like this with his pencil on his paper. And I had walked away and was busy myself with something else, and he kept doing this to see, am I, you know, is she gonna get into a conversation with me, because then I'm gonna be able to get up from the table. He was looking for a response from me. It was abundantly clear that's what he was looking for, and I wasn't ignoring him. I was totally aware of where he was. I was essentially in the same room, but the kitchen counter was between us, and I was busying myself with dishes and preparing dinner, but I wasn't saying enough with the pencil. Stop with the pencil. You need to be doing your homework. Why are you doing that? I was giving no attention to that. But then at one point, he stopped doing this and he said, "Mom," and I said, "Yes," and made eye contact because, you know, I'm not ignoring him. And then we had a conversation about something, and, you know, it was time for him to go back to his homework, and he tried this like 3 different times before he gave up on that and finally sat down and did his homework.
But the thing is, he gave up on it, right?
He did give up on it.
And that's what we have a tendency just to expect if we tell a person to stop doing something, they're just going to stop doing it.
Yes, but it doesn't work.
Especially if they are trying to get your attention or trying to get out of something, and you attending to them or talking to them makes it so they don't have to do the homework, you know, or engage in what they're supposed to be doing. So that is the hardest part.
It is hard.
And you have to, it's waiting for that moment, waiting for the behavior to cease when it's not reinforced.
At one point I was singing in my head and going, when is he going to get it? When is he going to get it that it's not working? I wish that would hurry up. But it's difficult. And he wasn't hurting anything or anyone by doing that. He was just annoying. But there are times when our kids will, you know, when they're engaging in challenging behavior, try to, my son in the beginning would knock over lamps or sweep the whole table aside. And we weren't ignoring him, but what we would do is move things out of his way and block his ability to get to things when he was doing that, but we weren't saying, oh no, you're not going to touch the lamp.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't want the child to cause harm to himself or others.
Absolutely.
And so when we're saying ignoring, it's that's why I like to use not attending to the behavior. And you are making sure that he is safe still.
Right.
And that's the most important part, making sure your child is safe and others are safe, blocking.
Right.
But you can block without making eye contact.
Right.
Without talking.
Or discussing it.
Exactly.
I'm blocking it, you're not getting away with it. We don't want to be doing any of that. Okay, so the child's engaging in challenging behavior, and we're not attending the behavior if we've got it on extinction, but we're still in the room. We're not ever putting the child in a different room where we can't see or hear them. But they do take these pauses, and you gave the example of the child crying and the pause to take the breath. And children wear themselves out, and if it's not working, they do take pauses. And so in that pause, we can introduce something new for them to do. It's okay to talk to them then.
Yes.
And it's okay to make eye contact with them while they're pausing.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with the behavior that they're doing. So with my son, doing this with the pencil during the homework, if I just waited until he paused with it, and I could have said to him, do you want some lemonade? And sometimes that's enough and I'm not rewarding this, how many seconds do I have to wait for him to not do it before I can say something else that I can potentially reinforce?
You know, usually it really depends. I would say like 1 to 3 seconds, especially if, well, for an older child who's been, you know, in this routine for a while, you could probably wait two or more, but you don't want to go over like 3 or 4 seconds.
Okay, because then they could go back to doing this because they're not getting
exactly. And but you do want to look for that opportunity to reinforce something else.
Yes.
So even discontinuing the hitting of the pen, stopping that, reinforce that, you know, but not necessarily saying like, oh, thank you so much for stopping hitting the pen, you know, that, but yeah, say when he said mom, that's an appropriate attention getter, saying mom, and then you say, yeah, what is it?
Yeah, exactly. And so, because this is life-changing stuff right here that we're talking about, because sometimes your child, you just see it. They're on the train track to disaster land. We're headed for the meltdown, right? And we always talk about building in those stop points. So in that pause, you give your child an opportunity to do something for reinforcement, and you can get slightly back on track or all the way back on track.
And it's not even looking for this terminal response of doing the homework that you want to reinforce. Like, of course, at the end of everything, overall, doing the homework is what you wanted. But in that moment, just not doing and not reinforcing the pen hitting and reinforcing something more appropriate is so beneficial to getting him back on track to doing homework, because then he realizes, okay, hitting my pen on the table is not going to get my mom's attention. I can do something more appropriate, like saying mom. And even and after time, maybe he won't hit it with his pen anymore, but he'll ask you every 5 minutes, mom, and have a conversation with you. And then that's when you pinpoint something else as a more appropriate response. So you can say, okay, I'll talk to you in 5 minutes when you finish one problem.
But and you can apply this though with a child of any age and any challenging behavior, but this moment of and sometimes I think of it as distraction. So the child is flipping out about something and they take a pause, and I can remember even at one point saying, oh, did I just see a bird fly by? And something to call their attention to get moving in a different direction. But notice that, you know, when the pen stops and you wait the second, and if you're introducing something and saying, hey, do you want some lemonade? Notice that you're waiting the second so that they're not confusing, I did the pencil and now you're asking me for lemonade. That it's abundantly clear that it's the ending of the pencil that created a moment in which you said, do you want some lemonade?
Exactly. And this isn't, and of course, this is not something that the individual is even aware of, you know, not necessarily. A lot of times the child will say, I know what you're doing.
Yes, the older they get, the more.
Especially the older they get, and we do this all the time too. Like, I see why you're doing that. So, so you don't need necessarily the child to understand completely why you waited that second, or but also in this example, if you said too that he went back to hitting his pen after that, you know, which is fine. You can't expect after that 1 second and you reinforce one thing that he'll stop it altogether.
It's going to take more than...
Exactly, and that's with extinction too. You're putting the pen hitting on extinction. And so we're ignoring it, not attending to it, but that doesn't mean it's going to just stop. Right there.
But the key is that in that moment when it does stop, that we're not talking about it in that moment, because that is giving, it's feeding it. Oh my gosh.
Because in that moment too, that could, if you bring up the pen and the pen hitting, that's attending to it as well when you redirect back to.
Which is so hard. And each time it's each behavior and each function, it's like you have to think of it through that kind of, you know, I don't remember exactly what the behavior was, but there was one behavior that was happening at school. And we had one behavior that was on extinction and another that wasn't. And I can remember being in an IEP IEP meeting and people saying, well, I don't understand when you want me to ignore it and when you don't want me to ignore it. And I was saying, well, we only want you to do the planned ignoring, not attend to it when it's on extinction for attention. And that's a hard concept for people to get.
It's very hard. And it's, we do this all the time, and so we talk about it as if it's easy sometimes, which it's not. It's definitely not. It takes a lot of practice on our part, too, to look at, in that moment, what is going on and what is reinforcing the behavior. And sometimes we don't have a minute to think about this. We don't even have a few seconds to think about this. So, but once you see it enough times, the behavior enough times in a specific context, you can start to assume, okay, I think it's for this. And you'll know right away. You'll know right away.
It's clear sometimes. But really important that, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, but important that when you make mistakes, then look back and go, okay, that's a mistake, I'll know it for next time. And I also think, too, my husband and I, because sometimes you walk into a situation, right? My husband will be in an interaction with my son, and he'll have decided not to attend to something, and I walk in and go, what's going on, right? So, and same thing, vice versa. So my husband and I we have a little look that we give each other and a little movement of the, to know, okay, I'm aware of that's going on, and we're not attending to that.
Exactly.
But we don't necessarily discuss it, because then if you discuss it, it gave it the attention in front of the child. So making your significant other aware of the fact in some nonverbal way, develop a signal or something.
Siblings too.
And parents, grandparents. My mother has visited before, and my husband and I have been brilliant in not attending some behavior, and then my mother will chime in and try to negotiate with him about it, and I'm like, well, that just blew that. But we have to keep a sense of humor about it.
Of course.
And, we have inadvertently, or someone has inadvertently reinforced the behavior before. So it's when we make mistakes, we just start over.
I know.
It's exhausting.
It is.
Because it's a whole new way of thinking about things. But when you get it, in the moment, it is life-changing. And the way your child reacts and the way you interact with them is so much more pleasant when you really, truly get this.
It really is.
So we'll keep talking about it. All right. We have to take a break, but we're saying goodbye to you now. But thank you so much for coming in. And people, keep writing in your questions for Angela, so that and you can write them in any day of the week, so that we can give them to her on Thursday. So thank you so much for taking the time and being with us, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right. Stick with us. We are taking a break, and we're coming back. We have our social tip that I haven't gotten to. We'll be right back.
Today has partnered with Cox Communications to bring Inclusion Films to San Diego. Led by Joey Travolta, Inclusion Films teaches filmmaking to developmentally disabled children.
It's a practical film camp where we take them through the process of making a film. And each group, we split them into 3 groups, and they're each responsible for making a short film together as a group. How many people like animation in this group?
This is a wonderful opportunity for children to build their self-confidence, to develop new friendships, and it's also an opportunity for their siblings to come and to enjoy the company of other peers in this really wonderful, fun setting.
Okay, so you know what time it is?
Cox Communications has years of supporting the community. We believe in giving back to the communities we serve, and military, youth, and education are our 3 pillars. And so this really matched up with everything that we're about and what we're trying to do to give back to the San Diego community. And so we were thrilled to meet up with ACT Today and Inclusion Films and to have this wonderful synergy. 3 organizations really trying to move towards a common cause.
All right, we're ready? There you go, got it. Mark. Okay? You'll be talking to me, okay? So tell me your name, say my name is. In the past, we've done the Junior Apprentice, which is a takeoff on The Apprentice, the Really, Really, Really Late Show, which is a takeoff on The Tonight Show. And this year, we're doing a combination of 60 Minutes and Entertainment Tonight called 30 Minutes Tonight.
Okay, good. So now you understand what an improv is. You guys get the idea what an improv is? To go with the flow of something, especially in the action.
My son Elijah, he's into movies and he's into music, and so this program might bring out his particular skills.
Amazing. You're like a professional animator.
Every single person here we've met has been so kind, loving, and caring. They've given Nicholas the opportunity to be himself and be around people who have the same passion and interest as he does.
What is it you learned at filming? What did you learn?
That filming is kind of tricky.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate. And when they collaborate, they come up with a product that everybody can see they're a part of something. They become a community, they become a family. When you make a film, you really become a family.
Are we having fun at film camp? Yeah! You know, we are close to Hollywood. Yes. And Hollywood is always looking for young talent like this.
Autism is an epidemic, and it is not going to get any better anytime soon. Families are struggling to pay the bills, to put food on their table, let alone provide services for their children. And ACT Today is a vehicle of support for these families by helping them get access to life supports that they couldn't otherwise have.
My experience in film camp has been great, and I just really love how all you guys decided to bring us together.
What I learned here, I learned to animate, how to operate the platform. I learned about the animation and filming and
making friends. Making new friends and acting.
Meeting new friends. You can be anything you want to be.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I promised you guys a social tip, and you know I like to keep my promises when I can. So today we're talking a little bit about the correspondence between saying and doing. We want to help our children to understand that if somebody says something, then they do it. You know, a lot of times our kids will be diagnosed with a processing disorder, that there's a bit of a delay, that somebody will say something and then they don't do something. I know sometimes, some days, I'll just say to people, I say, I feel like I'm on tape delay today. Somebody says something and then I get it just a couple of seconds later. But we can work on those kinds of things with our kids. There's a series of lessons that we can do, and it's a lot of steps. But I just kind of want to introduce it to you. If you're interested in this kind of thing, these kinds of lessons are available in the skills program. I use the skills lessons at home with my son, and I was looking at this lesson the other day, and I said, you know, there's really good stuff in here, and I think a lot of times we could take this kind of thing for granted, but we can actually teach our children a correspondence between saying and doing. So some things to keep in mind right from the beginning. The first thing is that we want to establish the connection between saying and doing by example, and then later on we want to work on the correspondence. So I actually say something and you do something. But first we're kind of have to model it. So we've got a lesson here, and I've pared it down. It's on a series of different slides here. So let's see, and it's very fine print, but I'm going to read it to you guys. Okay, so here's an example, just an example, but you can think of the thousands of things that you could apply this kind of a lesson to, but it's a lot of steps. So the parent or the teacher shows pictures of a jump rope, a ball, and a hula hoop. So you lay them all out and you ask the child, what do you want to do at playtime? And so the child responds by by selecting the picture of the ball, and we prompt the child, or the child says, depending on where they are in the progression of what they're learning, I want to play with the ball. Now they can say this on their iPad, they can just gesture to it, they can sign it, so it's not necessarily a vocal thing, but if we're working on vocal speech, we're asking them, and we can prompt it one word at a time. I want to play with the ball. Great, we've got the picture. Great, you want to play with the ball, and we're repeating that, right? Okay, then the parent shows the picture of the ball and says, okay, you said you're going to play with the ball. You said it. So we're modeling this lesson here and showing them what it looks like, say and do. Okay, you said you wanted to play with the ball. And then asking them again, what did you say you want to do at playtime? And the child says again, I'm going to play with the ball. So it's giving them lots of opportunity back and forth. Okay, great. Now, you know on SpongeBob when they say 2 minutes later, 2 minutes later, and we literally are waiting 2 minutes, and if you have to, set your timer. 2 minutes later, the parent or the teacher presents the picture of the ball again. So maybe we did something else for 2 minutes, we played with cars or whatever, but the parent holds up the picture again and says, and they're showing the picture of the ball and says, what did you say you were going to do at playtime? And the child says, I'm going to play with the ball. Again, it could be spoken language, it could be sign, it could be on the iPad, whatever, but we're teaching this correspondence between, we're modeling it. You said you were going to do this, and now we're going to have it do it. Now the parent takes the picture and sticks it inside of a box. So making it a little more fun. So we stick it inside the box. Okay. I said this was long, right? Now, the teacher shows an actual ball, an actual jump rope, and a hula hoop and says, okay, it's playtime, and they let the child select which thing that they want to do. Now, hopefully, the child chose the ball, but really, at this point in the game, it's not that essential that they chose the ball, but we're going to remind them, but you said you were going to play with the ball, okay? So we're going to prompt them again. But hopefully they go ahead and they pick the ball and they begin to play, and the parent says, what are you doing? And we want the child to say, I'm playing with the ball, right? Because we're building this whole sequence of events here. What do you want to do? I want to play with the ball. What do you want to do? I want to play with the ball. What are you going to do with playtime? I'm going to play with the ball. Putting the picture away, put the things out. What do you want to play with? I want to play with the ball. Oh, okay, what are you doing? I'm playing with the ball. 5 minutes later, right? The parent ends the playtime and has the child give him or her the ball and puts the ball away. So the ball goes away. We wait 2 more minutes, and these time constraints are there because we want we don't want to be all in succession. The parent teacher takes the ball out, shows the ball and says, what did you do? What did you do? And the child says, I played with the ball. Great, you played with the ball. The parent or teacher shows the picture of the ball and asks, what did you say you would do? What did you say that you were going to do? The child says, I said, and we prompt them to say this, I said I would play with the ball. The parent teacher shows the ball and the picture of the ball and says, did you do what you said you were going to do? And the child says yes, and we reinforce like crazy. So we're literally, the picture is helping us to be, this is the thing I said I would do. The actual 3D thing is the thing that I actually did. Now, does this sound confusing and many, many steps? Yes. But it's the way that we're putting these two things together. You said you were going to do this, and you did this. Yay! You said you were going to do this, and you did this. Yay! And that may sound crazy to you, but how crazy is it going to be when you have a 14-year-old that you say to them, I need you to make your bed today? If we instill the idea that you said you were going to do this and you did this in them with these very simple things, and you get reinforced for it, we begin to build this say-do correspondence. We can also put in there, if you want to work on the word promise and keeping your word, you can language it in such a way you can put that in if you're doing a different activity. It doesn't always have to be the ball. And of course, you always want to vary this. This is just one example of a way. So it's not always going to be with a ball. And there are a whole progression of lessons and skills to get you to work up to a point when you can say something, or your child can say something, and then they do it. Really, really valuable. It's painstaking. It's a lot of steps, But it really, if you do it enough and you prompt them through it, they begin to make the connection. Oh, I said I was going to do it, and I did it. That say-do correspondence, really wonderful, so helpful for our children with academic skills, so helpful with them with adaptive skills, helps them to be a better friend. It's going to make them more ready to join the job force. A really, really wonderful skill. We're out of time. I had some more things that I wanted to talk about about varying the materials, tell you really quickly, and being patient but reinforcing and modeling the behavior. So what we say we have to do, right? We have to walk the walk that we're talking, and reinforcing approximations. Don't be afraid to get in there and help them. Don't assume that they're going to know how to do it. We're going to prompt them to say the right thing, and we're going to reinforce approximations. And again, I want to add that if you're interested in this kind of a lesson and getting the full scope of this lesson and all the different areas of it to build on this skill, they're all available in the skills program, and with many more examples that you can use for it. Okay, that is our social skill for today. Really important that we add that. We're at the end of our time, and I want to remind everybody, programming note, we're not going to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow, Emily and I are taken to the road, and we are going to the ARI conference, the Autism Research Institute conference, which has already started, so we're going to be getting there late. A lot of really wonderful people that we're planning on meeting. I hope that if you're going to be there, that you will find us. We'll be conspicuous with a camera and a microphone. But please come up to us and meet us. I can't tell you how much we're looking forward to meeting you. And for those of you who won't be there, know that we're coming back with information for you, because I couldn't go. A lot of years I just could not go to the conferences. So we're going to come back with information and let you know how you can hook up to the things that get talked about there. Okay, as this show ends, I want to remind you that the conversation continues. Emily's going to show you a lot of different ways that you can get in touch with us on this program. I also didn't get as much time to talk about today is the October surprise. If you will please go to our Facebook page, you will see that there is a Twitter response that's on our Facebook page. It's also on our Twitter page, and you can just retweet that if you want, or you can take it and customize it for yourself. We are asking for people to tweet at the Romney campaign and at the Obama campaign, because we need to have the subject of autism talked about in these debates. It's high time. I think we're all in agreement with that. So please change your Facebook status today. You can, on my Facebook today, there is a video that is a three-hanky affair where we have that Twitter feed as well, that you can go there, Shannon Penrod on Facebook, and share it and get your friends to share. You can send emails if you want today. You can go to autismvotes.org. They have it all lined up, all the different things that you can do today. I really want to urge you to not only do something yourself, tweet it or put it on your Facebook or all of those things, or email or phone or do whatever. Look at the list and see what works for you today, but also to challenge yourself to see how many people that you know that don't have a child with autism that you can get to do that today. It really makes a difference. So I want to encourage you to do that lovingly. I know you got a busy schedule today, but this is something that really has a long-term effect for all of our kids, for all of them. So I hope that you'll take the time to do that. I hope that you'll have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.